DJ Word here. I'm doing a set of 45s here at alldayplay.fm. Check it out now. Being out in Berlin, Germany, it's a big city for DJ culture, if you're talking about DJ culture, like all-encompassing DJ culture, because it feels like out there, everybody's a DJ. So that is the culture, you know what I'm saying? Being a DJ seems to be like the Berlin culture, but it's, you know, it's good to have so many people involved. It's sometimes frustrating, you know, because there's just a lot of people out there competing for the same kind of gigs and spaces. There's fewer spaces always, like out in Berlin, I think out here as well, it's like a time where a lot of places haven't been able to make it past this like pandemic time. So, you know, it's at a crossroads right now with like so many DJs and so little places to actually play. It's always been kind of a difficult game. So you just gotta stay sharp and keep in the moment for sure. You know, being in a city where there's a lot of DJs, it's inspiring because you get a lot of music, you know what I mean, from all the different DJs. But I've been spending a lot of time in LA, and it's been good to be in a place where there's just the quality of the DJs is so high. That's super inspiring to me, just to watch a lot of my heroes and stuff DJing. Out in Berlin, I'm not a big fan of a lot of DJs. I have like good like friends and my crew and people that I really like, but I'm not like just going out and fanning out that much on DJs. But I do that a little bit more when I'm here in California. So in the Bay and in LA, you know. Like Berlin is known to be this kind of like techno hotspot. So electronic music is real big there. What I'm doing is more like organic based music. And you know, that's growing out there as well. Like I think the younger generation is also like expanding the taste out there. So that's a good thing about the scene right now, is that just different influences are coming in. It's opening up a little bit, not just being just a complete techno city, which, you know, it's known for being that. But yeah, I mean, definitely when I'm in LA, I see a lot more DJs playing the style that I like to play, you know, and playing the kind of music that I actually want to hear. So I like to play just open. I like to play the music that I like, and that like ranges, you know, through genres. And so that for me, playing, it's easiest when I have situations, and I really like to do like restaurants, lounges, places where it's not necessarily like a dance party, where I can play like a variety of styles and genres. But I gotta say, like in LA, like there's a lot of like theme nights, and that's also cool to see, you know what I mean? Like when it's like that, whether it's Motown on Mondays, or like, you know, seeing like Mad Skills play. This guy like puts in so much work to like preparing his sets, and like he's an amazing DJ, you know what I mean? I'm really inspired by people who really give it a lot of thought before they hit the turntable. It depends on what we're talking about, like who's playing and everything. You know, there's a moment that I really like to be at the peak time and just be there when the dance floor is full at like parties and this kind of stuff. But lately I've also enjoyed just playing the opening slot for like bands and stuff like that setting the mood for the whole night. I think that's like an important role to play. Not everyone is good at it, you know what I mean? Because a lot of DJs will just play bangers the whole time, but it's like setting a mood for a night is like, it's a real important space that I feel like is a little underrepresented, so I like to do that as well. And always, you know, my favorite was always actually like closing, because that's like when you can really just let go and do what you want to do. So in the past, I was always there for that close. I think as I got older, like I want to go to bed, like, so I'm not gonna stay till the very end like that, like I used to, you know. So opening now, yeah. I mean, the problem in Berlin is that like the closing set is at like 10 in the morning the next day, or like noon. So it's like, I don't know, it's too much, you know what I mean? Like I gotta get to bed at like 5. So in Berlin, like it depends. Like, so when I'm playing at restaurants, that's more of like a evening type of situation. But the type of music that I'm playing in the club situations can still go until like 5 in the morning or something like that. That's kind of like a reasonable time to end a party out in Berlin, you know, not 3 days long, but yeah, I think a lot of the more like organic music venues are set to close at a reasonable hour. Yeah, I mean, the first time I went out to Germany, one of the first gigs I had, it was on New Year's, and I played until 9 in the morning, and it, like, coming from the Bay Area where everything was done at like 1:45, it was amazing to me. It was just so many hours that you could actually play music. So if you're a real music lover and connoisseur, it gave you just more time as a DJ to share that music with people. I remember like up in San Francisco, like some of the first gigs that I was playing before I left, it's like 6 DJs, everyone gets like 20 minutes to play. And so it was very like limiting as far as like you have to just play your bangers and what you have in those 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And I got to experiment a little bit more with longer sets out in Germany. I used to have a college radio show in Santa Clara at KSCU. We had a show called Curbside, and it was like all underground hip hop music, local underground music. That's what I wanted to play back then in the mid-90s. And yeah, that show let me meet a lot of artists. I got to know a bunch of music from the Bay Area that I probably wouldn't have without that show. And that was what I brought with me out to Germany when I went, was like those records of like California, Bay Area records. So in the beginning when I went out there, I was like the guy who had those records. A lot of people out in Germany had a lot of New York records, and it's that East Coast hip hop was very well represented. And I think that I was like part of the generation that brought over like a West Coast vibe to Berlin as well. I think worldwide that like Bay Area, you know, they got their real hype like 2000s, like after the 2000s. Like people were very New York focused before that. So, you know, I was happy to play a role in like opening up the Bay a little bit. I do back-to-back slots with my crew, Crisp Collective in Berlin. We do some back-to-back stuff. We do a radio show out there as well regularly, and you know, oftentimes we're doing back-to-back. But I do appreciate, you know, being able to get into it, like in my own sets, and like being able to set the vibe that's, you know, a longer arc of music instead of just like going back and forth with stuff. But you know, there's a time and a place for both. Like with parties, I enjoy doing a back-to-back slot. Sometimes when it's like something like this, it's nice to do, you know, to curate your own hour. I'm playing a lot of remixes. So the set I'm doing now is like I'm focusing more on modern music and modern releases and new releases. Like I have obviously a lot of old records, a lot of 80s funk, boogie stuff. But for this set, I'm focusing more on like new releases. Cause I'm a vinyl head, you know what I mean? I still buy vinyl, I love it. I love it when records are coming out. Like, luckily, I'm limiting myself to 45s now. It makes it a lot easier when you go into the record store to just like go to the 45 section and see what they have. But yeah, I want to highlight that vinyl culture is still alive, you know? And that we can still go out to the record stores, we can still support our homies that are making music, buy their records. So yeah, that's why a lot of remixes these days, I think a lot of DJs are pressing up, especially in the 45 scene, are pressing up some re-edits, remixes, you know, new interpolations of old songs. So yeah, a lot of that. So I grew up as a turntablist. That was like my intro into hip hop music, you know, into DJing was turntablism. When I moved to Berlin, I joined a turntablist crew called the Phaderheadz out there. We were battling out there and stuff. But yeah, I had an accident like 2 years ago where I cut my main artery and like all my nerves in the left arm. So as a turntablist, I was like pretty detrimental to what it is that I was doing. I had to like kind of redefine who I was as a DJ and what I'm doing. And I'm still in the process of doing that, of like healing, trying to recover from that, but also just keeping out there, you know? Like I was in the hospital for like 6 days. The day I got out, I went and did a gig, just, you know, with one arm in the beginning. And that was a time when before that, I had never really used CDJs. And so I kind of got into using CDJs after this accident because it's like a lot easier to hit your cue points and like do everything with one hand, you know? So I had to, yeah, kind of change the way that I was DJing after that. And also like doubling down on vinyl on the 45 sets, like really getting into the music more, and like that being the thing that's carrying the weight of the DJ sets, good music, you know? As much as like I love skills and I love people who can really cut and really do crazy tricks and stuff, a lot of the younger generations they're not really interested in that. You know, I've seen some posts where people were talking about how it's just distracting when DJs are scratching, you know, and I get it. You know, I grew up in a different culture where that was like, you know, you showing how much you've worked on something through that. And people, you know, I've gone different countries in the world and met people because of cutting, because of turntablism. People could tell right away, like, oh, you're from the same culture that I'm from. And I love that about hip hop culture, that we had that. That seems to be changing quite a bit now with the new generation. But I think it's important just to stay in the moment, you know, and see what people are interested in right now. It's, you know, I feel it's not a bad thing if the interest goes towards the music and less on like the DJ's personal skills, because it's also like a skill to be able to curate a night, to be able to figure out what kind of music people want to hear in a specific moment. So yeah, I've been focusing more and more on that. Even though that was a thing that was, you know, dear to my heart before this accident, it's like I had to like kind of weigh the things that I still have, that I can still really shine with. So yeah, that's become like the taste in music and the music that I want to share with people. Getting back into, you know, using the hand with the fader and, you know, scratching with it a little bit, it's like, that's part of like my rehabilitation and my training, like getting my brain to like use new nerves that are growing to control my hands. So yeah, it's, you know, I still appreciate being able to cut and stuff like that. So I don't think I'll stop. I got like old school favorites, you know what I mean? I have people that I looked up to my whole life, you know, Shortcut being one of them, who also like, you know, suffered like an injury through a stroke recently. Like I could really relate with the situation that he was going through, having to also deal with like nerve function of his hand and stuff like this. And just being an all-around dope turntablist and DJ for years and years. So looking up to these guys, D-Styles, of course, you know, like these people that like shaped me. And, you know, being in LA, I get to watch a lot of the Beat Junkies do their thing, and like there's just such good DJs. And as I mentioned before, like Mad Skills, I got to play with him once at Boombox out there, and he's just an amazing DJ. You know, he was a dope rapper. He brought that same energy with him to the turntables. And of course, like Jazzy Jeff, Cutso here in San Jose, of course, you know, legend. So there's definitely DJs that I look up to. Inca One out in LA, like people that are like actually, you know, doing something for the culture, promoting events, this kind of stuff. DJ Expo, who did that Motown on Mondays in LA. You know, when I went out there in the beginning, he really helped me and introduced me to so many people. When he came out to Berlin, he's living in Berlin now, he moved into my place. And so it's someone that I have like a good connection to. And of course in Berlin, Crisp Collective, DJ Vilify, Boogie Dan, DJ Kien, those are people from my crew, Moni B, that are really dope DJs, and I'm happy to be able to DJ with them, alongside them, and share music. You know, there's a radio station out in Berlin called Refuge Worldwide. It's online radio, and so we do like a monthly show on there. And Crisp Collective, we came together about 2.5 years ago was our first event together. And it's, you know, a bunch of DJs that were doing their thing. We all know each other, but we decided there's strength in numbers, so to put it together and to actually like try to promote events and stuff out there. The radio show has been, you know, a good regular thing to do out there, to just spread new music and stuff, and to play vinyl. I love to play vinyl out there, but also mix it up with CDJs and kind of go back and forth between the different styles of playing. And, you know, the Crisp Collective is it's very broad, a lot of bass music, you know, future music, electronic stuff, jungle, like just real open format, but in like a kind of different direction. Each DJ has like a different thing that they're doing. I think I'm like holding it down more for like the vinyl culture and like the organic groove stuff. And then other people are doing more like, you know, drum and bass type of stuff, jungle and remixes and all kinds of stuff. So it's, you know, it's a good crew to like get inspiration from, just because each person is very different. You know, I gotta give credit where credit is due. In the beginning, when I was out here, I was focusing so much on like Bay Area music and stuff that was coming out. And like Mystic Journeyman back then, they were releasing these tapes, and on their tapes, there was like recordings of like bells and shit in Europe, and they like, you could tell like part of their like persona was that they were like touring Europe and were like out there. And I was super inspired by that. You know, that DIY, take hip hop out into the world and see where it brings you, like that was super inspirational for me. Like that Living Legends attitude that they had, you know, in the beginning. And so I think that's when I went out there the first time, it was a little bit like, okay, let's just see, you know, let's see what it's like out there, where hip hop can take me out there, bringing my records with me. And, you know, in the beginning I was just traveling throughout Europe and Berlin. Like the first night I got there, I went to like the one hip hop club back then in like 97, 98, around this time. And yeah, met the DJs, was selling mixtapes, and then got booked there like right away. So it felt like oh, this is a cool place to come back to. So I went back and thought I would stay for like a half a year. It's like 25 years ago. So the perfect song for me to play out is probably somebody that I know that produced it. I think that's like a big part of the music that I play is I like to play the music of my friends, of other artists that I've met, people that I think are cool. Like if I meet someone and I think they're like a real nice person and they have dope music, then I'm so happy to play their music out and to like use whatever platform I have to like show their music. So I really like to, support the homies. So that's the main thing, but it's gotta be, it's gotta be dope music first and foremost, of course. But luckily, like all my friends do dope shit, so it's easy. DJ Word here. I'm super happy and excited to play a set of my 45 records at adp.fm. Check it out.